All right, guys, once again, back with another March Madness Bracketology update. We got some major stuff happening yesterday, including congratulations to Louisiana winning the Sun Belt Championship and beating South Alabama, and that was a good South Alabama team, one of the more hotter college basketball teams in the past month. Louisiana, they will be in the tournament as a lower seed. Oral Roberts hangs on against St. Thomas, Minnesota. That would have been a crazy upset by St. Thomas of Minnesota, but Oral Roberts right now sitting at 29-4. If they win tomorrow against North Dakota State, they will very likely be a 12 seed. Congratulations are in order to Furman University for their win, and I think their first trip to the tournament since 1990. They beat Chattanooga. I personally love this because Chattanooga's been to the tournament a few times recently. They get a big win. They're in as a lower seed. Northern Kentucky beats Youngstown State. Youngstown State, the number one overall seed in the Horizon League, goes down. A little bit of an upset there. Montana beats Idaho State in the quarterfinals of the Big Sky. St. Mary's beats BYU. They were in total control of this game. BYU came back late, but they still end up losing. So St. Mary's is on to the championship. Charleston and their great record, I think they're 29-3. They are on to the championship of their league. South Dakota State losing in an upset to North Dakota State. So it's going to be Oral Roberts versus North Dakota State in the championship of the Summit League. Cleveland State beats Milwaukee. They're headed to the championship of the Horizon League. Weber State beats Sacramento State in the quarters of the Big Sky. And then Gonzaga takes care of San Francisco. They will face St. Mary's in a rubber match between those two schools. Just looking at Joe Lunardi's updated seed lines, and guys, the big story here, UCLA officially a 1 seed. They would be in the West there. That is the big story. It's Kansas, Alabama, Houston, and UCLA now. The 2 line, Purdue gets bumped down. They head to the South. Purdue certainly still has a chance at a number 1 seed, depending on what happens with UCLA in the Pac-12 tournament, and also what happens with Purdue in the Big Ten tourney. You've got Texas, also a 2 seed, along with Arizona and Baylor. Marquette, the first team on that 3 line. I really like Marquette going into the tournament. Let me just say that. And I really hate Kansas State. So kind of an interesting thing there. But I'm thinking Final Four for Marquette. I'm thinking Final Four. It's not confirmed yet. It's not confirmed, but we will see. And then the last 4 buys, just looking at the bubble, Boise State looks like they're going to be in. NC State, Pittsburgh, Penn State, possibly avoiding a first 4 matchup. Last 4 in, Mississippi State, Utah State gets bumped up now. A lot of people bumping up Utah State. They're seeing Utah State's net rating, and Utah State is a trending story. Rutgers and Nevada, the last team in. The first 4 out, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin getting bumped down, just like I said they were. Their net rating is in the 70s. It's too bad. Arizona State and North Carolina, who needs a run in the ACC tournament. Michigan needs a deep run in the Big Ten tournament. Charleston probably needs to win the auto bid there. Clemson and Oregon, the last 2 teams, they're going to have to make significant headway there. So Lunardi was explaining the seeding for the 4th spot on the top line. Common sense suggests UCLA should be the 1 seed in the West, while Purdue takes the 2 in the South. At the very top, we broke the Kansas-Alabama tie on the basis of quality wins and strength of Conference 1. So looks like they're going with Kansas for the number 1 overall seed. The analytics would disagree with that. The analytics would say actually Houston should be the number 1 overall seed, but we know the ridiculous disparity in terms of quad 1 wins between Kansas and Houston. And really, I mean, Alabama and Kansas have just played such harder schedules than Houston. So it feels like right now Houston is locked in to the 3rd number 1 seed overall behind both Kansas and Alabama due to strength of schedule and strength of conference there. Just taking a look at the overall recent trends. So this is the last 10 days. You can see the BPR change. It's just a good gauge going into the tournament. Which teams are playing good? Which teams are playing bad? Houston, the main story here, -2. The offense has been a struggle for Houston in their last few games. Gonzaga trending up a little bit. UConn trending up. Tennessee trending down. Purdue trending down. Kansas trending down. And then you've got Kentucky at number 13 overall. They're trending up. It is crazy that this analytical model has Gonzaga as the number 2 overall team. They must put heavy weight on offensive metrics. Guys, Gonzaga has a very below average defense. It's going to be very hard for me to pick Gonzaga to go to the Final Four. Because if you've got a defense that's ranked that low in terms of analytics, we're talking outside of this top 75, traditionally, those teams have basically zero chance of making the Final Four if you have such a horrible defense. But we'll see what happens. Duke is a team that's trending up, so I'm really not buying Duke. I think their good record is a pure product of how bad the ACC is, and if this was a normal year for the ACC, Duke would probably have 12 losses and they'd be a 9 seed. That's what I think of Duke right now, but we'll see what happens. They also have a very young team, but those kids are growing up. They're late into their freshman year. So we will see, but also Arkansas trending down a little bit, but I still like them because of the good guard play. And then Virginia, another team taking on water. This is just the overall change within the past month out of everyone. And you can see Nebraska. Is Nebraska going to win the Big Ten? How amazing would it be? Miami of Ohio, UMass Lowell, could they win an auto bid? Toledo and their great offense is trending up. Clemson is trending up. UConn is on there as well. Utah State, San Jose State, Georgia Tech out of nowhere. So there's just some Merrimack. That's too bad Merrimack is not able to participate in the NCAA tournament. And then just taking a look at the updated recent bracket, this is the Kansas Midwest region, so this is basically just pure home court for Kansas. Let me tell you right off the bat, if I am Kansas, I do not want to face Memphis in round 2. Because there's no way Missouri would beat Memphis. That would be such an easy 8v9 matchup to call. Memphis would beat Missouri, and then Memphis would have a serious chance of upsetting Kansas. Miami, a 5 seed versus VCU. Yuck. That's probably the worst 5 seed in the tournament and the worst 12 seed. Indiana and Toledo. I would not want to face Toledo if I'm Indiana. If I am a better seed, Toledo is a team I'm looking to avoid in the first round due to their offensive potential. Michigan State versus Mississippi State or Utah State. If I'm Michigan State, I want Mississippi State to beat Utah State in the first 4. And then Marquette. Guys, this region is wide open for Marquette. Marquette very easily could go to the Final Four, but if I am Marquette, I would probably want to avoid Michigan State in the second round. Then you do have Texas A&M versus NC State. I think Texas A&M is a really good 7 seed, and then Arizona versus UNC Asheville. So UNC Asheville jumping up 1 seed line to the 15 line. A lot of people thought they were going to be a 16 seed. UCLA, the number 1 seed out west, they would take on Florida Atlantic or Auburn. I think Auburn's they've been really good recently. They just beat Tennessee. St. Mary's versus Charleston, that's a fun matchup right there. Virginia versus Utah Valley, yikes. Kentucky versus Pittsburgh, you gotta love Kentucky and the way they've been playing in that one. Gonzaga versus Furman, you gotta like Gonzaga. Northwestern versus Providence, two teams that are trending down, really trending down. I mean, Providence has been so bad. Northwestern, I don't believe in. That would be a hard game to call. And then Texas and Vermont. How about Vermont? Have you guys seen how good Vermont's been the past few years? They always seem to win their conference. Moving to the South, you've got Alabama taking on Cleveland State, Illinois and West Virginia. That's a nice first-round matchup, Illinois, West Virginia there. You know, West Virginia is a team that's lost a lot, but they are in a tough conference. TCU and Drake. I love Drake to win that. I know a lot of people do. Everyone loves Drake over the 5 seed. Xavier and Yale. I could definitely see Xavier or Yale beating Xavier. Yale has a good offense. I could see a second-round matchup, Drake versus Yale. San Diego State versus Penn State. That's a rough matchup for San Diego State going against Penn State in that guard play. I'm very concerned about San Diego State and their lack of offense going into the tournament. Kansas State and UC Irvine. I think if you're Kansas State, you have to love that matchup against UC Irvine as a 14 seed, but I do not believe in Kansas State as a 3 seed. Duke versus USC, and then then Purdue versus Colgate. I think Colgate should probably be on the 14 line right now. Like, I would switch Colgate and UC Irvine. That's just me, though, in terms of seeding. Moving to the East, you've got Houston, the number 1 overall seed. They will very likely face Maryland or Arkansas in this bracket. And I like Arkansas to move on. I really like Arkansas going into the tournament. Iowa State versus Oral Roberts. I'm sure everyone's going to be picking Oral Roberts. UConn versus Iona. You got to like UConn. UConn's a very strong 4 seed. Iona has lost games, really bad losses this year for Iona, even though they are the best team in their conference. Creighton versus Rutgers or Nevada. You got to love Creighton in that matchup. Tennessee versus Louisiana, who is an auto bid now. Tennessee, the metrics love them. Iowa versus Boise State. Typical Iowa team, really good offense, horrible defense. And then Baylor versus Montana State there in that one. And then updating everyone on the brackets, taking a look at the upper left American East. I expect Vermont to win this and get the auto bid, although UMass Lowell has been very good, and I'm sure they will beat New Hampshire in that one. All the other ones pretty much still have to be decided. We know Kennesaw State did get the auto bid there. Taking a look at the mountain or the Big Sky? I think that's the Big Sky in the bottom left. You have the 1 seed knocked out, Eastern Washington already lost, and I really do like the 2 seed Montana State to win that tournament. They will probably take on Montana in a zesty little final. Bottom right, we had UNC Asheville win that one, of course. Moving to the next one on the bottom right, you can see the CAA championship, UNC Wilmington taking on Charleston. A lot of people expecting Charleston to win that one, although we'll see. Taking a look at the Horizon League, you can see it's Northern Kentucky taking on Cleveland State. I think Cleveland State wins that one. Taking a look at the Ivy on the bottom left, I love Yale, the 1 seed. They have a good offense. Cornell also has a good offense, but I like Yale to win that league there. And then the bottom right, you've got Iona as the number 1 overall seed. Really just a mosh pit. That conference is always a mosh pit every single year. Rider is the 2 seed, but after Iona, it's a cluster there. And then taking a look at the West Coast, you can see St. Mary's versus Gonzaga. We all thought that. Oral Roberts versus North Dakota State. I'm expecting Oral Roberts to get the auto bid, and I'm expecting probably St. Mary's to come back and get revenge on Gonzaga and win that game. Taking a look at the games tonight, you can see the big one. It is Gonzaga, St. Mary's. The analytics give Gonzaga a 1-point edge in that one. Vermont should take care of business in their semifinal games. Oral Roberts, 9-point favorites to win their conference championship. Charleston sitting at around 9-point favorites as well. Montana State should win and go to the conference championship there. They're 6-point favorites. UMass Lowell, heavy favorites in their matchup versus New Hampshire. And those are just some other matchups there. Long Beach State, really like that team. They're 8-point favorites. That is a Final Four caliber team right there. they are very impressive. But guys, that is going to do it for this update on the brackets here for March Madness 2023. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.